The evening light fell softly across the valley, painting the dirt road in shades of amber and rust. The farmer drove slowly, his daughter Lily sitting beside him in the old pickup, her small hands folded in her lap. She was 8 years old, quiet by nature, with eyes that seemed to see more than most children her age. They'd been into town for supplies, flour, salt, a new hinge for the barn door, and now they were heading home, the windows down, the warm September air carrying the scent of dry grass and distant rain. He liked this time of day, the world softening, the hard edges of labor giving way to something gentler. He glanced at Lily, who was watching the landscape pass with that thoughtful expression she wore when she was thinking deeply about something she wouldn't yet say aloud. "You're quiet," he said gently. She turned to him, her face serious. "I was just thinking about Mom." He felt the familiar ache, but it was softer now, worn smooth by time. "Yeah? What about her?" "I think she would have liked today. The town, the people." He smiled, reaching over to rest his hand briefly on her head. "I think so too, sweetheart." They drove in comfortable silence for another mile, the sun sinking lower, casting long shadows across the road. The old stone bridge came into view ahead, the one that crossed the dried-up creek bed, a relic from another era, solid and weathered. He always slowed down there. The road narrowed and the stones were uneven, but as they approached, he saw something that made his chest tighten. 3 men stood near the bridge. A truck was parked at an awkward angle, half off the road, and on the ground, near the edge of the stones, a woman was crouched, her arms wrapped around herself, her body language screaming fear. The farmer's hands tightened on the wheel. One of the men was shouting, another was pacing, agitated. The third stood close to the woman, looming. Lily sat forward, her breath catching. "Dad!" He was already slowing down, his mind moving quickly, calmly, the way it did when things went wrong on the farm, when a horse panicked, when a storm came fast. You didn't freeze, you acted. He pulled the truck to a stop 30 feet away, the engine idling. "Stay here," he said quietly. "Dad." "Stay in the truck, Lily." He opened the door and stepped out into the dust and the fading light. The men turned toward him, their expressions shifting from surprise to annoyance. The woman on the ground looked up, and even from this distance he could see the bruise forming along her cheekbone, the way her hands were shaking. The farmer walked forward slowly, his boots crunching on the gravel. He wasn't a big man, but he carried himself with the kind of steady presence that came from years of hard work and quiet confidence. His voice, when he spoke, was calm. "Evening." The nearest man, tall and rangy with a patchy beard, sneered. "Keep moving, old man. This ain't your business." The farmer stopped about 10 feet away, his hands relaxed at his sides. "Looks like the lady needs help." "She's fine," the second man said, stockier, with a red face and wild eyes. "We're just talking." The woman shook her head, her voice breaking. "Please." The third man, older, colder, stepped toward the farmer. "I'm going to tell you one more time. Get back in your truck and drive away." The farmer looked past him, meeting the woman's eyes. She was terrified, but there was something else there too, a desperate hope. He looked back at the men. "I can't do that." Behind him, he heard the truck door open. His heart dropped. "Lily, no." But she was already running toward him, her small voice ringing out across the empty road, high and clear and full of a child's unshakable sense of right and wrong. "Dad, please save her." Everything shifted. The tall man lunged forward, and the farmer moved without thinking. He stepped into the man's space, deflecting the wild swing, and drove his shoulder into the man's chest, sending him stumbling backward into the dust. The second man came at him from the side, and the farmer turned, catching the man's wrist, twisting, using the momentum to pull him off balance. The man went down hard, the breath knocked out of him. The third man hesitated, his eyes darting between the farmer and the road. Then he turned and bolted toward the truck. The farmer moved quickly, planting himself between the man and the vehicle, his breathing steady, his gaze unwavering. "Don't!" The man stopped, weighing his options. The other two were groaning in the dirt and the light was fading fast. The farmer's expression didn't change. "It's over," the farmer said quietly. "You're done here." For a moment, the man looked like he might try something. Then, from somewhere down the road, the sound of a siren cut through the evening air. The man's face went pale. He swore under his breath, turned and ran. The farmer didn't chase him. He turned back to the woman who was still on the ground, her whole body trembling. He walked over slowly, crouching down a few feet away so he wouldn't startle her. "You're safe now," he said softly. "Can you stand?" She nodded, but when she tried to get up, her legs buckled. He reached out, catching her gently, his hands steady. She looked up at him, her eyes brimming with tears, and something passed between them, something wordless and profound. Lily came up beside him, slipping her small hand into his. "Is she okay, Dad?" "She will be," he said. The sheriff's car pulled up, lights flashing, and a familiar figure stepped out, Tom Haynes, a man the farmer had known for 20 years, solid and fair. Tom took in the scene quickly, the two men still on the ground, the woman leaning against the farmer, Lily standing close. "What happened here, Ben?" Tom asked, his voice calm but alert. The farmer, Ben, exhaled slowly. "These men were hurting her." I stepped in. The third one ran off toward the highway. Tom nodded, already radioing it in. "You hurt?" "No." "The lady?" Ben looked down at her. "She needs medical attention." Tom walked over, his expression softening when he saw the bruise on her face. "Ma'am, I'm Sheriff Haynes. We're going to get you checked out. Can you tell me your name?" She swallowed, her voice barely a whisper. "Claire Donovan." Tom nodded, gesturing to his deputy who'd just arrived. "Get her to Doc Simmons, and get statements from these two." He glanced at the men on the ground, his jaw tightening. "You two are under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." Ben stepped back, giving them space, but Claire's hand shot out, catching his wrist. Her eyes were wide, urgent. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know what would have happened if—" "You don't have to think about that," Ben said gently. "You're safe now." She nodded, tears spilling over. And then the deputy was guiding her toward the patrol car, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. Tom turned back to Ben, his expression serious. "I'm going to need you to come by the station tomorrow. Give a full statement." "I will." Tom glanced at Lily, who was still holding her father's hand, her face pale but determined. "You okay, kiddo?" She nodded. "I'm okay." Tom's expression softened. "You're brave, both of you." He looked back at Ben. "You did the right thing." Ben didn't respond. He just nodded, lifted Lily into his arms, and walked back to the truck. The house was quiet when they got home. Ben carried Lily inside, her head resting on his shoulder, and set her down gently on the couch. He made her a cup of warm milk with honey, the way her mother used to, and sat beside her while she drank it. "Dad?" she said softly. "Yeah." "Are you glad we stopped?" He looked at her, this small, fierce soul who saw the world so clearly. "Yeah, sweetheart. I'm glad." "Me too." He kissed the top of her head, and she curled up against him, her breathing gradually slowing. He stayed there with her until she fell asleep, then carried her to bed, tucking the blankets around her with the careful tenderness of a man who knew how precious life was. Downstairs, he poured himself a glass of whiskey and stepped out onto the porch. The night was cool, the stars bright and scattered across the sky. He thought about Claire Donovan, about the fear in her eyes, the way she'd looked at him when he'd told her she was safe. He wondered where she'd go from here, what kind of life she'd been running from, what kind of life she'd build next. He didn't expect to see her again. 3 days later, she came back. Ben was in the barn repairing a section of fence when he heard the sound of tires on gravel. He straightened, wiping his hands on his jeans, and walked out into the sunlight. A small sedan was parked near the house, and Claire Donovan was standing beside it, her hands clasped in front of her. The bruise on her face had darkened, but her eyes were clear, steady. He stopped a few feet away, surprised. "Claire, I'm sorry to just show up," she said quickly. "I asked the sheriff where you lived. I hope that's okay." "It's okay." She exhaled, her shoulders dropping slightly. I wanted to thank you, properly. I didn't get to the other night." He shook his head. "You don't need to thank me." "I do," she said, her voice firm. "You didn't know me. You didn't owe me anything. But you stopped. You helped me, and I—" Her voice cracked and she looked away, blinking hard. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't been there." Ben stepped closer, his voice gentle. "You're safe now. That's what matters." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "The sheriff arrested them. All three. They won't be coming after me." "Good." They stood there for a moment, the silence comfortable, the late morning sun warm on their skin. Lily appeared in the doorway of the house, her hair still messy from sleep, and when she saw Claire, her face lit up. "You're the lady from the bridge." Claire smiled, the expression transforming her face. "I am. And you're the brave girl who called for help." Lily walked over, her steps careful, curious. "Are you okay now?" "I am, thanks to you and your dad." Lily beamed, and Ben felt something shift inside him, a warmth, a sense of rightness he hadn't felt in a long time. "Would you like to stay for coffee?" he heard himself say. Claire looked at him, surprised. "I don't want to impose." "You're not." She hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." She stayed for coffee, then she stayed for lunch, and then, as the afternoon stretched out and Lily showed her the chickens and the garden and the old oak tree where she liked to read, Claire stayed a little longer. They talked, carefully at first, then with more ease. She told him she'd been living in the next county over, working as a teacher, trying to leave behind a relationship that had turned dangerous. She didn't go into details, and he didn't ask. He just listened, offering her the quiet space to say what she needed to say. She asked him about the farm, about Lily, about the life he'd built here. He told her about his wife, who'd passed when Lily was just a baby, about the long, hard years of learning how to be both mother and father, about the peace he'd found in the routines of this place, the early mornings, the seasons, the simple, steady work of caring for the land. "It sounds like a good life," she said softly. "It is," he said. "Most days." She looked at him, her gaze searching. "Do you ever get lonely?" He paused, considering. "Sometimes, but I've got Lily, and this place. It's enough." "Is it?" The question hung in the air between them, gentle but probing. He met her eyes, and something flickered there, something neither of them was quite ready to name. "I don't know," he said honestly. She smiled, a small, sad smile. "Me neither." She came back the next week, and the week after that. At first, it was just to visit, to help Lily with her reading, to share a meal. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, she became part of the rhythm of their lives. She'd arrive in the late afternoon, and they'd sit on the porch talking while Lily played in the yard. She'd help with dinner, her laughter filling the kitchen in a way that made the house feel alive again. She'd stay until the sun set, and then she'd drive back to her small apartment in town. And Ben would stand on the porch watching her taillights disappear into the darkness, feeling the weight of her absence. One evening as they sat together after Lily had gone to bed, Claire turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you stop that night, on the bridge?" He was quiet for a moment, thinking. "Because it was the right thing to do. A lot of people wouldn't have. Maybe. But I couldn't just drive past. Not when someone needed help." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "You're a good man, Ben." He shook his head. "I'm just a man." "No," she said firmly. "You're more than that." He didn't know what to say to that, so he just reached over and took her hand. Her fingers were small and warm in his, and she didn't pull away. They sat like that for a long time, the night settling around them, the crickets singing in the grass. The turning point came on a rainy Saturday in October. Claire had spent the day at the farm, helping Ben and Lily bake bread and repair the fence by the pasture. The rain had started in the late afternoon, a steady, soaking downpour that drummed on the roof and turned the yard into a patchwork of puddles. By the time they finished dinner, the rain showed no signs of stopping. Claire stood by the window, watching the water stream down the glass, her arms crossed. "I should get going," she said, but there was hesitation in her voice. Ben came up beside her. "The roads are going to be bad. "Why don't you stay? We've got the guest room." She turned to him, her expression unreadable. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." Lily, who'd been listening from the couch, bounced up. "Please stay, Claire. We can make popcorn and watch a movie." Claire laughed, the sound bright and genuine. Okay, I'll stay." They made popcorn and watched an old film, the three of them curled up together on the couch, the rain a comforting backdrop. Lily fell asleep halfway through, her head in Claire's lap. Then Claire ran her fingers gently through the girl's hair, her expression tender. Ben looked at them, this woman and his daughter so comfortable together, and felt something deep and unnamed rise in his chest. After the movie ended, he carried Lily to bed, and when he came back downstairs, Claire was standing by the fireplace, her arms wrapped around herself. "She's wonderful," Claire said softly. "You've done an amazing job with her. Thank you." Claire turned to face him, her eyes bright with something fragile and hopeful. "Ben, I need to tell you something." He stepped closer. "What is it?" She took a breath. "I've been staying away. From this. From you. Because I was scared. Scared of getting hurt again. Scared of wanting something I didn't think I deserved. But being here, with you and Lily," her voice broke. "I haven't felt this safe in years. I haven't felt this happy." Ben's heart was pounding. "Claire, I don't want to leave," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't want to go back to that apartment and pretend this isn't what I want. Because it is. You are." He closed the distance between them, his hands coming up to cup her face, his thumb brushing away the tear that had slipped down her cheek. "Then don't leave," he said quietly. "Stay." She looked up at him, her eyes searching his. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." And then he kissed her, slow and tender, and she melted into him, her hands gripping his shirt, her body fitting against his like it had always belonged there. When they finally pulled apart, she was smiling, her eyes bright. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." She moved in 2 weeks later. It wasn't dramatic or rushed. She brought her things gradually, clothes, books, a few pieces of furniture that fit seamlessly into the house. Lily helped her unpack, chattering excitedly about all the things they'd do together, and Ben watched from the doorway, his heart full in a way he'd thought was lost to him forever. The days took on a new rhythm. Claire taught at the school in town, coming home in the afternoons to find Ben working in the barn or the fields. They'd have dinner together, the three of them, and then they'd sit on the porch as the sun set, talking about everything and nothing. Lily playing nearby, the world feeling impossibly whole. There were hard moments too. Nights when Claire woke from nightmares and Ben held her, whispering that she was safe, that no one would hurt her again. Mornings when the weight of the past felt heavy and they'd sit together in silence, just being present for each other. But mostly there was joy. Simple, steady, everyday joy. Lily thrived. Claire thrived. And Ben. Ben felt like he'd been given a second chance at something he'd thought he'd lost forever. On a cold evening in December, Ben stood on the porch, watching the first snow of the season fall softly across the valley. The house behind him was warm, filled with the sounds of laughter and music, Lily and Claire baking cookies, singing along to the radio. He thought about that night on the bridge, about the choice he'd made, the choice to stop, to act, to step into someone else's pain and offer help. He thought about how easily he could have driven past, how different everything would be now if he had. But he hadn't. And because of that, his life had changed, opened, become something richer and more beautiful than he'd ever imagined. Claire came out onto the porch, wrapping her arms around him from behind, resting her cheek against his back. "You okay?" she murmured. He turned, pulling her close, kissing the top of her head. "Yeah, I'm more than okay." She looked up at him, her eyes warm. "Me too." They stood there together, watching the snow fall, the world around them quiet and peaceful. Inside, Lily called out, asking if they wanted to decorate the tree, and Claire laughed, pulling Ben toward the door. He followed her inside, into the warmth and the light, into the life they were building together, one quiet, beautiful day at a time. The farmer had learned many things over the years: how to read the weather, how to coax life from the soil, how to endure loss and keep moving forward. But the most important lesson had come on that dusty road at sundown, when a little girl's voice had rung out clear and true. "Dad, please save her." Because sometimes the choices we make in a single moment ripple outward, shaping everything that comes after. And sometimes when we choose to stop, to help, to care, we save more than just one life. We save our own. What did you think of this story? Would you have stopped that night or driven past? Leave your sincere thoughts below, and if you enjoy these stories of courage, love, and second chances, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your presence here means the world.